let's officially jump into it and ask you some questions and pick your brain if you don't mind. So, first and foremost, thank you for joining us, Mike. It's a pleasure to finally meet you.
You're too kind. I'm a horrible person. I'm not deserving of any of this.
You know what? You're a jack of all trades because a simple online search cites your repertoire as a casting director, consultant, stuntman, producer, you name it. Which one of these best describes what you do on a day-to-day basis?
It's going to sound really cheesy. It depends on the day.
I suspected that.
No, I mean the thing in Hong Kong. The good thing of Hong Kong is that you often get a chance to do more than one thing because they'll be like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And I was trying to explain to someone a couple of years ago. I was going, to me as well. It's the thing of the more I can do, the more reason I have to be around. Yeah, yeah. Like like a friend of mine was. We were doing. There's an actress in Singapore, Pamela Chi, and she knows me as a casting director. And then she went off and worked on like Beyond Skyline, and she was like, Mike, why do all the stunt guys have pictures and video of you like hanging off of cars and doing all this stuff? And I was like, because I'm not always a casting director. But no, I mean, I would say probably casting director and consultant most of the time. Um, I get hurt doing stunts these days. It's like, and I mean, like on abduction, I managed to crack my sternum with my chin. It's it was that terrible thing of an actor, Andy on, is doing like a jumping back kick to me, and everyone's going, "Yeah, Mike." And then when you go down, make sure you tuck your head. And I tucked my head with so much power, I cracked my sternum, and I was, wow. And of course, the best thing about that is they can't fix it; they just have to let it heal. And for about 6 to 8 weeks, such strenuous activity as breathing, turning your head, coughing, results in pain. So it's a. I'm getting old. I prefer not to be getting blown up these days.
Yeah, I am really curious though. How did this whole Hong Kong thing start for you? Because you're like I mean, clearly by your accent, you're UK born and bred, and I mean, I guess at that time, Hong Kong was part of the UK.
Yeah, the funny thing is, when I go back to the UK, people ask me where I'm from. I'm like, I'm from here. Oh, you're from South Africa? You're from here? I'm like, no, I'm from Croydon. I was very much, how to say, I was very much a movie fan, and then loved action movies, loved Hong Kong movies, loved horror movies, science fiction movies, but I had a real passion for like Hong Kong film and martial arts film. And in the late 80s, there was a lot of white guys popping up in Hong Kong film, and I was thinking, maybe I could be one of those white guys. It's like, I could get hit by someone. I could do that. And then I was working in a department store at the time, and I was bored shitless. And I kept thinking about, I should go to Hong Kong. Yeah, I should go to Hong Kong. And then finally one day I was like, I went out for lunch and I saw the price of flights and went, I'm going to Hong Kong. And I came back and was like, I'm taking a leave of absence. I'm going to Hong Kong for a couple of weeks. And that was 33 years ago. And
are they still waiting for you to come back at that department?
Well, the funny thing is, for about 27 years, yes. For about 27 years, they would send me a letter, dear Mr. Leeder, we're still holding you. And I was always like, there's a backup. If all goes wrong, I can go back and sell lights again in a department store. And then they went bankrupt. So I was like, damn, I'm screwed. But no, it was just a case of, so I will be permanent. I did no preparation before I came. Like, my brain was like, Hong Kong is a British colony. Says here, 2 languages, English and Cantonese. Okay, I can get by on that. and jumped on a plane to Hong Kong. So thinking I'd probably be here for a couple of weeks, and my brain was thinking, if I'm lucky, maybe I'll get to see a movie being shot. And if I'm really lucky, maybe I could get to be an extra. And then jumped on a plane, arrived, and as stupid and cliche as it sounds, I fell in love with the place immediately. I just got off the plane and was like, this is cool. This is fantastic. And then within about 2 minutes realized, the level of English in Hong Kong is not what I think it is. I may have to work on the other language too. And then jumped in a taxi, got to a hotel, checked in, and then literally the next day, somebody walking past the hotel when I was coming out was like, "Hey, you want to be in a movie? You want to be in a commercial?" And I was like, "Okay." And
was that in English?
Yeah, it was just and it was the first job was a commercial for kind of like a Chinese version of Pepto-Bismol. And I got paid the princely sum of about £50, and it's still on TV because there's no residuals in Hong Kong. There's no but it was fun. And then it was at the time I said there was 400 movies a year being made, and it was just fun. So I started working on movies. Was perfectly honest that I'm not a great martial artist. I don't train. I'm a lazy fucker. And part of me regrets that because I had the chance to train with a lot of really good people, but I was just crap. And the funny thing is, one of my first friends here was an American wushu guy called Jeff Falcon from Six String Samurai, everything. And a lot of the other Westerners here were like, "Oh, Jeff's not a good guy. He's very standoffish." And I was like, "No, he studied to be like a wushu coach, so he would point out if you did something wrong." Yeah. So he'd be like, "Glenn, that was really good until you landed on your face." And for me, I was like, if he'd tell me my kicks were shit, I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Whereas everyone else was like, "How dare you say that?" And then
not the first time I've had that direction either.
Exactly. And then just it kind of rolled from there, and then started working behind the scenes because I realized that I look far better off camera, and then just kind of rolled from there. And I said 33 years later, I'm still here. Yeah.
Well, that's a fantastic place for us to lay some context here for people that are listening that may not know your work. Some titles you've worked on include Rogue One, Man with the Iron Fist, Rush Hour 3, Man from Tai Chi, just to name a few. And you've worked on several Australian productions, I should say, Goldstone, Saragon Road, Baz Luhrmann's Australia. Where did the Aussie connection come in with half of these?
What it's really funny is I have family in Australia who I've never met. Even my family in England were like, "Well, you're in Hong Kong. It's just," I was like, "It's another 12 hours." It's another. It's the halfway point. Yeah. And I've always been like, "Yeah, I should fly over and meet them," and then I never have. Much to their annoyance, I've been in Australia several times and not called them.
They're big fans of Good Movie Monday, so they're probably listening. Just say hi.
Oh, well, damn. In that case, dear Uncle Dougie, really sorry. I've been meaning to get over. We'll catch up soon. No, basically, there's always been a Hong Kong Australia connection. There's always been, from Brian Trenchard Smith doing A Man from Hong Kong and everything. There's always been a connection with Hong Kong.
And Jackie Chan was always over here doing stuff.
I mean, Jackie is an Australian citizen.
Yeah.
In Australia, he's Paul Chan.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But basically, and then a guy. Then I think I'd been here about 2 or 3 years, and I met someone. No, actually less. Yeah, that was my second year here. Um, I met an Australian martial artist and stunt guy called Mike Miller, who became one of my closest friends. He's probably best known. He's the villain in Jean-Claude Van Damme's Knockoff, the guy with the glasses who's coughing and everything. And I met him in a very bizarre way. uh, I was in a bar having an argument with my girlfriend at the time, and I went outside to smoke a cigarette, and I see this white guy standing there, and he's wearing these sunglasses that Jackie Chan used to wear. And the only person in the world who ever looked good wearing these sunglasses is Jackie Chan, because they like cover his entire face. You know? And I just walked up to this guy and went, "You're not Jackie Chan, you know," and snapped his sunglasses and stormed away. And I forgot about it. And then, like 2 or 3 days later, we're on the set of Once Upon a Time in China Part 2. And there's a whole bunch of Westerners there and everything. And I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you." This guy's like, "We've met already." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You broke my sunglasses." I was like, "Oh, shit, I'm sorry, man." And then we got chatting and we were kind of getting along. And then he immediately made an impression on me because they said, "Look, we need somebody to get shot with an arrow. And we'll pay, $50 extra to whoever does it, a Westerner, So Mike Miller jumps up and says he'll do it. And I think all of us, including him, thought it's either going to be, the arrows on a wire or the arrows on a ratchet and it's just going to pop up. No. They gave him a jacket with a piece of wood in it. And to prove it would work, they fired at a Chinese stuntman first. And then they set fire to the arrow and fired it into Mike's chest. That's what. So if you watch Once Upon a Time in China 2, you'll see there's a scene where like Jet Li's at a medical college with Dr. Sun Yat-sen for some reason, and a Western guy comes down and they start talking about reflex action, and then Mike gets hit by an arrow, and I was like, he's a cool dude. And then we all started kind of like hanging out, and then God, I think Mike was my flatmate for about 4 or 5 years. And the same thing, huge action movie fan, Hong Kong movie fan. And we were just very young guys in Hong Kong getting up to no good.
Oh, mate.
The best way to say it.
So talking about stunt work like that, I just want to sort of just off the cuff, to our listeners, if you want to see some of Mike's action work at play really quickly, just Google Pound of Flesh. One of the greatest images online is you getting headlocked by Jean-Claude Van Damme while he's doing the splits. It's hilarious.
Well, the funny thing of that was like how to say, I wasn't aware I was going to get hit for real until I got hit for real. And
that was control kick. It's a control kick.
No. It was basically I brought in the fight choreographer John Salvetti, who's from Donnie Yen's team, and John I'd met on probably my second or third day in Hong Kong just by accident. I met him, Donnie Yen, and Michael Woods, and we always kept touching. And me and John always joked about it that we'd known each other for 25 years before we worked together. So I brought him in, and John is an incredibly passionate martial artist. John is all about the fight. The funny thing is he's a florist. So but he's all about the fight and the passion, and like, Glenn, I'm going to punch you in the head really hard, but it's going to be a great shot. And then Ben, you're going to kick me in the face really hard, and it'll be awesome. And we planned the fight, and then I'm sitting in the car. We're just doing a run through, and John hit me in the face. I was like, I think he hit me and he didn't realize, you know.
Yeah.
And then we went through the rest of the choreography, and then he's like, I was like, yeah, John, just so you know, you hit me in the face. He went, yeah, that's part of the choreography. And I was like, okay. And then, it was that thing of like, okay, I'm one of the producers. Do I turn into a diva here and make a fuss? No, I'll go along with it. And also, same thing. I'm getting to fight Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's
It's a great scene.
So yeah. And so we end up shooting the scene. And of course, the funny thing is John has brought a couple of real MMA guys over from Australia, bizarrely as well, to want to get into film. And for these MMA guys, it was this real eye-opener of like, wait a minute, you're getting hit again and again and again. And you can't block the punch and you can't avoid it. And it's not just a 2-minute round. It's, oh, okay, take 17 of getting punched in the head and knowing it's coming. But, Yeah. So, no. I mean, that scene was, to put it nicely, painful. Because like when Jean-Claude's hanging off me, there is no rig. There is no support artist. It's him choking me out as he does so. I think it was amusing for Jean-Claude because he wanted to punch and kick me at various times over the years, so he could get away with it. But
that's always been the joke with Jean-Claude Van Damme, was that he does actually kick and punch people. And then afterwards, he's like, no, it's a controlled kick. I knew exactly what I was doing. And they're like, you kicked me.
That kind of puts me in a hard thing because he's done it to me a few times where he'll be like, and you're like, dude, you just got me. And you're like, oh, yeah.
I was planning to end this conversation with this, but I may as well jump in now because I was going to say one of the things you do best that I love most about you is you call out people that send you dickhead emails. You don't necessarily name them, but you actually you talk about what just happened, and that's hilarious.
No, because the thing is, how to say, I love social media. Like I'm, Facebook, everything. It's great, but I think the problem is a lot of people seem to have lost how to communicate. Yeah. Like, you don't
or their grip on reality.
Yeah, you don't go to a job interview and just be, "Oi, give me a job." Well, what are your qualifications? No, man, just give me a chance. Yeah, I'm great.
Yeah, I know I could be good.
But I get people message me like that, and it frustrates me because sometimes I'm like, okay, people don't know better. They're new to the industry or they're trying. But then sometimes the thing is, you try and help people, and you realize this whole me thing. Like, I did one of the Resident Evil movies. I did the one with Ada Wong with Lee Bingbing. Trying to remember the name, which one it was. But the funny thing was, when they were doing the last Paul Anderson Resident Evil, IMDb for some reason had me listed as the casting director. So people would submit their materials to me, and I'd be like, I'd try and be nice and be like, hey Ben, hey Glenn, thanks for sending me your materials. I'm not actually working on this movie. You should reach out to Impact Pictures or Constantine who are producing it. And I would say maybe 2% of people said thank you. But probably about 75% of people were like, well, who at Impact Pictures should I talk to? Who at Constantine Pictures? You're like, can't you forward my materials? And I was like, I'm not working on the movie.
Well, look, to be honest with you, though, when you do it, it's always what not to do. It's a bit of a tutorial for people.
Yeah, so, and the funny thing is now I go, okay, guys, I've been ranting about it long enough. Surely...
This is a great place for me to pivot the conversation now, because I was one of those dickheads that sent you a script many years ago for my Kickboxer 6 script, but that was on the advice of Albert Pune. He sent me to you for that script. I don't know why.
Okay, if Albert Pune sent Satan my way, I would give them the time of day, because Albert, God bless him, I loved Albert and I miss him very much. He was.
Well, let's quickly talk about Albert. We both share a very, very strong love for the man. Where does your story begin with him? How did you first
the Sword
become
and the
acquainted?
Sorcerer?
Yeah, of course.
I was initially attracted by Kathleen Bella's heaving bosom, but I was like, wait a minute, there's something cool with this movie, like tri-blade swords and Richard Lynch being a bad guy, and I was like, isn't that Matt Houston being the hero? And wait a minute, that's the guy from Street Hawk, and hey, that's the guy from like that's Red Brown. I know, I
and
really
the heaving bosom.
Yeah, exactly. If I ever meet Thomas Dolby, I will fall at his feet and say, "You bad." I shaved my head hoping she would mistake us for each other. Yeah, but no, like I saw The Sword and the Sorcerer and really loved it, and then I don't think in England we got the Journey to the Center of the Earth movie or Down Twisted. I don't think we got them. And then, of course, I saw Cyborg and I was like, "Fucking hell, this movie's awesome!" Like a lot of people at the time, I think, were confused because it wasn't Bloodsport or Kickboxer. Like I think everyone was expecting, like, wait a minute, why isn't he in an underground tournament? What's going on? And then I remember, what was it? There used to be a cinema in London on Tottenham Court Road, and it used to show 5 movies a day, just so they could put UK cinema release. So it would show, Cyborg at 12:30, Kickboxer at 2:30. Yeah, just so they go, UK cinema release, put it on the VHS box, it will sell you more. And I think I saw Captain America or Kickboxer just before Kickboxer 2, just before I came to Hong Kong.
Yep.
And it was Kickboxer 2, and I really love Kickboxer 2.
That's my favorite Albert Pune film. It is, and it's my favorite in the franchise.
Exactly. And like Dennis Chan, who plays Marcy, is a very good friend of mine. And I love there's a UK director, Ross Boyask, and both of us always like, why is there no soundtrack? Like, why can we not get an official version of My Brother's Eyes? And then when I arrived in Hong Kong, I remember seeing Captain America and going, I'd read about it and got all excited. Because I remember reading about it and going, wow, this sounds cool. And I saw the movie and was like, okay, I don't know much about movie making, but something was going on this movie. And then, like, Nemesis got a cinema release in Hong Kong, so it was great to be able to see Nemesis on the big screen in like a grindhouse cinema. And then we got the news that Albert Pune was in Hong Kong. He was coming to do a movie. So we all went to audition, and said at the time I was a skinny young lad and I had a mullet. So I auditioned for the role of the Cockney hitman, like, there's a bounty out on you, mate. And that was probably the quality of my acting. So Albert went, no. But he was quite bemused that I knew who he was. And he was like, wow, you actually know my stuff? Like, oh, that's cool. And I was going, oh my God, it's Tim Thomas, and oh my God, it's Brian James. Oh, this is, blah, blah, blah. So he was like, you can come and hang out on set if you want. And I hung out on set, and we formed a friendship. And he was just, if Albert had a flaw, it was he loved film too much. Like, because Albert would sell his house to finish a movie. Albert would go, okay, well, if you let me finish the movie, I'll give up all my residuals. I'll give up all my rights. And the recent Shout Factory Sword and Sorcerer, if you listen to the audio commentary, I think it's John Charles and Albert Pune, and it's a really good commentary, but it's really because a couple of times Albert breaks down, and you can understand the passion where he's like, I'm on a movie, I'm directing a movie, and they're going, just to let you know, Mr. Director, there's another director here if we think you're crap.
Yeah,
we could replace you at any moment. And I think that's the problem that Albert, like, when he did Hong Kong 97, he had the money to do Hong Kong 97 and Heatseeker. And then he made Spitfire at the same time.
Yeah.
And, like Blood Match. Oh, we've finished Kickboxer 2. Oh, wait a minute, we've got the LA Sports Center for a couple more days.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, let's make another movie. And like I want to remake Blood Match because I go, the movie is bad, but the concept is so cool. It saw in the martial arts world.
Well, we were just Ben and I last week were talking to Tom Matthews about that film, and he said that's one of the hardest films he's had to work on. Even though it was like such a short, put together kind of thing, he goes, it was so exhausting to make it in such a turnaround.
Well, I mean, I remember talking to Benny Akitas, and Benny said the scene where he fights, they had no time to choreograph, so he was like, "I'm just going to bring in one of my students and basically beat the shit out of him." Because he was like, "Albert, there's no time to choreograph." You know, okay. Like Matthias Hughes and like kickboxing, like Matthias always tells me his big regret was he refused to cut his hair, so Albert wouldn't hire him in Nemesis. Like Albert wanted him for a role in Nemesis. And Matthias loves his blonde locks and was like, "No, I'm not
going to say, why would you want Matthias Hughes without his long hair?"
No, exactly. Matthias is a god. Matthias, same thing. Like, I, the first time I ever met Matthias Hughes, I was in LA, and he drove past in a convertible with 2 Afghan hounds that had the same hair. And this is awesome. This is Hollywood.
You know what, Big Mike.
Albert Pin is just Albert. How to say? There's one YouTube channel who I wasn't a big fan of, but I now hate because shortly before Albert died, him and another director decided to just do a "let's talk shit about Albert Pine" video cast. And no, Albert was just, I love it. I miss him so much because
our podcast may
now I'm going to have to dig out your Kickboxer 6 script.
Yeah, I'll resend it.
Please do, because
I even brought Mark Dacascos back.
Yeah, because the funny thing is, we nearly did another Kickboxer movie called City of Blood that we were putting together.
I remember I did the poster for it.
Yeah, and like for that, like I was actually with the Chinese producer for that last night, and and what I liked was it was a Kickboxer movie that skirted the rights.
That's what.
So basically, yeah.
Thank you.
So basically, David Sloan is only revealed to be David Sloan at the very end because Master Cien turns up.
Yes. Oh, you need to read mine because I put David Sloan in exile. He was, anyway. That's another story. You know what? We could do a whole podcast listening to your stories, but we actually do have to wrap it up.
But no, I mean, it's just like you said. It's just with Albert, like we were so close to getting that Kickboxer movie going. I think what's frustrating for me is like Albert's former producing partner was Tom Karnowski, and Tom is incredible. Like, just if you listen to Tom's stories about things like Captain America, where he's like, "Yeah, we had no money," and I would get told by someone at Canon, "Oh, go to Hungary and meet Glenn at Budapest train station, and he'll give you $50,000 he owes us." And Tom would leave, and then Tom would come back and go, "Glenn didn't give me $50,000. Glenn stole my briefcase and my watch."
Yes.
And the thing is, what people get is like, they made Captain America under such insane conditions.
Yeah.
Like Tom now produces movies like, Die Hard, Die Hard 4, like movies, everything. And Tom was like, "That's how I learned to deal with things, how to like, okay, how are we going to fix this problem?" And I just wish Albert had like more of a support network around him, because I think the problem, because Albert was so nice, sometimes there was a lot of people who were like, "Oh yeah, Albert, put me in your movie. Albert, do this for me. Albert, do that for me." As opposed to people going, "Hey, Albert, what can we do to help you?"
Yeah, he was taken advantage of a lot.
And that really frustrated me. Albert is a genius, and I miss him very much.
Absolutely, couldn't say it better myself. But thank you so much for sitting in with us for this time. Like, we could listen to your stories forever, and I'm sure there's a whole podcast to be made of that. But
I mean, as it like, let me know. I mean, if I apologize if I waffled about.
No, like you are full of stories. You are full of connections. It's just amazing to listen to. But we do appreciate.
The problem is, I have to wait for some people to die before I can write a book. It's like, but no, I mean, the thing is, and this is going to sound really cheesy, is like one of the things that I do love about social media is, social media has allowed us all to keep in touch.
Yeah.
I'm very upset because I want to see all the physical media behind Ben's head.
Yeah, it's all VHS. It's all VHS.
Yeah. Oh, but see, the problem in Hong Kong is because of the humidity, VHS goes moldy.
Well, you know what? Like I'm devastated right now because usually behind me it's the same but DVD Blu-ray, but I'm moving office and house at the moment, so it's empty. So yeah.
No, I'm actually re-racking my office and my bedroom and everything, which is why I have the black background, because it's just a mess.
Well, that was very smart of you, because I should do the same. I should do the same. There we go. Better late than never. But we do have to wrap. We do have to wrap it up now, mate.
But as I said, gentlemen, a pleasure. Anything I can do for you, if you need pics or anything or whatever, just give us a shout. Yeah.